I'm Ann Kroeker.
And I'm Singleton Craig.
And together we are Kroeker and Craig, co-authors of the book on being a writer.
Today we're talking about Chapter 6, Send. This chapter is all about what happens to your work when you think it might be ready to go out into the world. And one of the big things about sending your work out is making sure, not that it is perfect, because perfectionism can keep you from finishing the work sometimes, but making sure that you've at least done the work to get your piece of writing ready for the next reader. Sometimes your next reader is going to be the end reader. For instance, if you're posting something on your blog, that's as far as it gets, and the readers are your readers. Sometimes your next reader is an editor, or sometimes your next reader is an agent. And in that case, in all three of those cases, not only do you want to have done the work of writing, you want to have done the work of rewriting and self-editing and making sure that you are doing the due diligence to get all of those typos fixed, all of your pet grammar errors corrected, even some of the favorite words or the favorite phraseologies that you use over and over. You want to make sure that you aren't overusing them. So getting your work ready to send is what this chapter is all about. But I'd like to ask Ann. Ann has submitted and sent out all kinds of work in her career, in her long career. Just kidding. Well, it is a long career. Yeah. And so one of the questions in the book is not just about sending your own work out, but what advice would you give to a friend who's struggling to submit their work? So what advice would you give? Here are a bunch of friends waiting.
And I think it depends on the stage of a person's writing life before I would know how to specifically address a person who's wondering about sending out their work. Because if you're further along, you're going to have a different situation than if you're just starting out. In any case, I would encourage you to do what Charity just said, and that is make sure it's appropriately edited. You want to send out clean copies so that you're not getting a reputation for somebody who's turning in really sloppy work that's going to require a lot of editing, or especially if you're self-editing through a blogging or through an ebook or something like that, you don't want to send out work that's less than your best. And if that means really enlisting the help of a friend or hiring an editor, it's really going to be worth it in the end if you need that extra objectivity. But I would say, ask yourself questions like, why? Why am I wanting to send my work out? Am I interested in sharing this with a particular audience? Who and why? And start asking some of those core questions rather than just rushing out to try to get a byline. And try to get to the core of why you want to be a writer and what the goal of your writing life is all about. And when you start answering those questions, then you can be more discerning about where you send it. And you won't just rush to the first opportunity, but you'll see which opportunities align with your long-range goals as a writer. So I really would kind of back up and encourage people to get to the heart of their writing life. And then sending becomes a little bit easier to decide along the way. But then once you've sent it out, I would also advise be patient and don't worry about the long time that you might have to wait to hear a response. Get busy writing again. And that's why we cycle back through these habits that we talk about in the book, is that none of these things, you don't just do them and then you're done. You do them and then you come back around to some other piece of your writing life. So when you have something sent out, be sure you go back to writing again.
And what would you say to the person who has a big ambition? They want to send their work out to a big publication, or they want a big audience. Where do they start?
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having ambition. Definitely, there's nothing wrong with aiming high. If you've never done anything before, you may want to work on stepping up in little stages while still aiming for the big guns. But you can start small and build up to that by building relationships with people that can help together lift you up to another level, whether it's in these writing groups. You've got people who are investing in you from week to week or month to month, depending on how frequently you meet. And so that's one way that you're going to become a stronger writer that's going to be the caliber that's necessary to be able to operate at the big leagues. And so I would say, if you're not already there, or depending on your stage, of course, like I said at the beginning, is don't be afraid to move up toward that. But yeah, don't be afraid to aim high.
Great. Well, we hope you will all aim high until Chapter 7, and we see you then.